Hello, friends. Welcome to the fascinating world of global psychology. I'm Dr. Manjeet Kuriel brought a new video for you. In this video, we will discuss the schools of psychology. Maybe this video will be long because in this video, I'll try to cover all schools of thought. So be with me till the end. If you skip or forward this video, maybe you will miss some important points. So let's start this video. Psychology has a bunch of school of thought. Each school has its own right about why we do and what we do. Let's break them down with their timelines, methods, yeah, ideas, examples, and where they didn't quite hit the mark. So, friends, let's dive into each one. Structuralism, this school kicked off in the late 80s to early 90s, and psychology was just becoming a science. William Wundt and his student Edward Titchener were trying to crack the code of human mind. They wanted to figure out what the mind is of, like breaking down a recipe into its ingredients. Their big idea was that if you could understand the basic bits, means sensations, feelings, and images, you have to get how the mind builds complex thoughts. For it, they used the introspection method where they train people to observe their thoughts and describe them in detail. They had to do this in super control lab settings, sometimes using gadgets to measure reactions times. For example, imagine teacher asking you to describe smelling fresh baked cookies. You would break it down warm, sweet, a hint of vanilla. The goal was to map out how those sensations combine to make you go, cookies were so yummy. It has limitations also. So, first one is introspection was super subjective. Means your sweet might not be my sweet. Means people's descriptions were too different, so the results weren't reliable and implementable. Second one's it couldn't touch unconscious stuff or hidden thoughts or actual behavior. By the early 20th century, folks were like, we need something more solid. So they moved towards a new thought, which was functionalism. Functionalism popped up around the same time from the 1890s to 1920s, where William James, James Angel, and John Dewey were shaking things up with functionalism, which hung around until 1920s. They were less about what is in the mind and more about what is does. Instead of breaking the mind into bits, they ask what is the point of thinking. They believe that the mind helps us adapt to life, such as learning to survive or solve problems. It inspired by Darwin's ideas of evolution's mind want to help us thrive. They used introspection method, but also observed people in real life situations, like observing people, interviewing them, and thinking about practical settings like in schools and workshops, and ask them the questions about their situations and feelings. They care about how the mind works in practical situation, not just in a lab. For example, picture a kid in a class learning math. A functionalist would study how their memory and focus help them nail those equations, making them better at surviving the school life. So it has limitations. First one, it wasn't super organized. Everyone was studying different things, so it felt a bit messy. It got overshadowed by newer ideas like behaviorism and kind of faded out. Now we will move toward behaviorism. Behaviorism was ruled from the early 90s to the 1950s, and it is still around in some ways. John B. Watson, V.F. Skinner, and Ivan Pavlov were the big name for this school. They did experiments often with animals, watching what they did. They used conditioning like pairing a bell with food or giving rewards. The big idea was behaving comes from what we learn from our environment, not our thoughts. For example, Pavlov's dog learned to growl when they heard a bell because it means food, and Skinner's rat pressed a lever to get food as a reward. Besides, it has limitations. Was one, it ignored thoughts and feelings, which are a huge part of human being. Humans are not just who responded to traits. Next, it was also too simple for complex stuff like love or sadness. By the mid of 20th century, people wanted more depth and behaviorism started sharing the stage. Now, we will move towards psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis started in the late 80s and was big until the 1940s, but it is still used in therapy. Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and Alfred Adler led it. They used free association where people say whatever comes to mind and analyze dreams to find hidden thoughts. They also studied one's person's life in detail. The main idea of psychoanalysis was that our unconscious the main idea of psychoanalysis was that our unconscious mindful of hidden thoughts from childhood control whatever we do. For example, if you are nervous always, Freud might say it is from a buried memory of your parents arguing. He thought unsolved issues, especially from childhood, could mess up, causing anxiety or weird habits. So, the question arises here is how they did explore it. For it, Freud used free association in which individuals blurt out whatever pops into their head to uncover hidden conflicts. Besides, he also analyzed dream analysis, believing they are on the royal road to our consciousness. Plus, he did deep dive case studies to get into patients' heads. For example, imagine someone with a fear of public speaking. People might have them a free associate revealing a childhood memory of being laughed at, which he had said is causing a fear. Dream analysis might show symbols of that same anxiety. It has limitations also. So first one, it was not very scientific and too much guesswork. And Freud obsessions with sex and childhood didn't sit well with everyone. Next, it was hard to test those wild theories, so it lost some steam as science got stricter. Next, we will move towards Gestalt psychology. Gestalt psychology ran from the 1910s to the 1940s. Max Wertheimer, Kurt Kafka, and Kohler were the leaders. They did experiment with things like flashing bulbs, lights, to see how we see the world as uniform patterns, not just a bunch of separate bits. They did studies, perception, and problem solving, and saying we naturally organize stuff into meaningful goals. They use a setup like the five phenomena, where lighting blinking in a row look like one moving light. They also explored how we solve problems by looking at the whole picture, not just bits and pieces. The big idea was the whole is greater than its parts. It means our brain love to organize things into meaningful patterns like seeing a face in a crowd or hearing a melody in a random notes. For example, Kohler chimpanzees staked box to reach a banana, showing they understood the whole problem and not just trial and error. Another example is seeing a movie as a smooth motion, even though it is just still strange because your brain connects the dots. They introduce ideas like figure ground organization and perceptual principles like proximity and similarities. Gestalt ideas about how we organize thought and perceive the patterns inspired cognitive psychology, which dug deeper into how the mind processes information and solve problems. Its limitations was the Gestalt didn't help much with the practical stuff like therapies or education, and behaviorism's focus on hard data overshadowed it. Now we will move toward humanistic psychology. This school started in the 1950s. Abraham Maslow and Ford Rogers were bringing some warmth to the scene with humanistic psychology, which peaked in the 1970s but still feel relevant. The big idea was we can grow to be our best selves, reaching our full potential. A supporting environment help us to become best version of ourselves. Maslow talked about self-actualization and studied people like Gandhi to see what make someone creative and happy, or Einstein saying their creativity and independence show what a self-actualization look like. Carl Rogers used client-centered therapy to understand the feeling and emotions behind individuals' reactions by listening to their thoughts with empathy and without judging. For it, they use interviews and self-reports to take into respondents' personal experiences. For example, therapy, Rogers might sit with someone feelings lost, letting them talk freely while offering total support, helping them find their own path. Now we will discuss its limitations. It is a bit flurry, hard to measure self-actualization with a ruler. And next, compared to the lab-based schools, it felt less scientific, but it sure brought a human touch to psychology. Finally, let's talk about cognitive psychology. This school started in the 1950s and is still a big deal today. Organizer Jean Piaget and Noam Chomsky were pioneers. They did experiment on memory or problem solving and used computer models to mimic the brain. They also studied kids to see how their thinking grows. The main idea is that the mind works like a computer, processing in memory, thinking, and making decisions. For example, they had a study how we group digit to remember a phone number like 123 dash 4345678 Moreover, Piaget found that young kids think a tall glass holds more water than a short one, even if is the same amount. It has limitation, it ignores human feelings or social stuff and concentrates on the human mind as a computer. So, guys, there you have it a whirlwind tour through psychology's major school from structuralism, mind mapping to cognitive psychology's brain as computer vibe. Each one added a piece to the puzzles of who we are. So, guys, this is all in this video. If you have any queries or doubts, you can comment in the comment section and give thumbs up for like this video and subscribe my channel for further informative videos. So guys, so we will meet in the next video with a new topic. Till then, keep watching and keep learning with me. Bye bye, take care and stay tuned.